messy room. Welcome to Pop-O-Holics, show about hot takes, hotter than hot, tasty pancakes. We're a bunch of deep divers, diving deep. Haven't thrown that one out in a while.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I know, throwback. My name is Christian, I'm the host, and I'm joined as always by my two fellow associates.
Chris Conkling.
And Brian Dupree. Very professional today. Associates. Okay. All right. We're businessmen.
Yes, sir.
I can live with that.
This is your first time at Pop-O-Holics. What do we do here? Well, you've landed on a wacky news corner, YouTube, and for podcast listeners, audio feed listeners, you know who I'm talking about, and you know what this whole situation is. But we go through the wackiest of news corners. Brian brings us the latest in the happenings of pop culture. We have a few news articles that we highlight, and then Brian list the upcoming releases for the week. We got some movies and TV shows and a video game mention too. Brian, I love when you put the video game mentions because I always have something to say on that. For podcast listeners exclusively, we then go into what we've been consuming. Oh boy, I've made up for my busyness. I was able to catch a few things. I saw Worth, Lula Rich on Amazon Prime, and also I just started playing Deathloop, which is all the hype right now in the video game world. And then Brian has seen Cop Shop, and Chris has read for the first time or reread?
For the first time, I'm reading this comic.
Eternals, to get prepared for that one, that their Marvel movie coming out. And then we have some community feedback. So we got a lot to get into this episode. So without further delay, let's start off with Brian's Wacky News Corner.
Welcome back, everyone. So starting on a bit of a down note, this Wacky News Corner. Norm Macdonald has died at the age of 61 after a 9-year-long struggle with cancer. So,
that's the way that Norm Macdonald would have wanted us to mention it, because he was a true comedian.
I'll accept that.
That is respect for the man. I love Norm Macdonald. Brian, continue with the story.
So yeah, he hadn't gone public with his diagnosis, so this comes as a huge surprise to most of the public. And Norm Macdonald is someone who spent 4 or 5 years on SNL before getting kind of unceremoniously kicked off, it seemed like, after some issues with management. Ended up coming on and hosting a year and a half or so later. Just absolutely iconic performances, doing his Burt Reynolds impression. I had never seen his Quentin Tarantino impression until after he passed, and it was going around, and it's just absolutely hysterical stuff. And from all accounts, Norm Macdonald was not only hilarious, but also just a great person that most people, you hear so many kind stories now that he's passed about people, famous and not, who've had really positive experiences with him. He was on a bunch of shows, had his own show called Norm for a little while, was a regular on a bunch of other shows, as well as popping up in a bunch of movies. One of my favorite is Billy Madison that he's in, just one of the silly friends. So yeah, rest in peace to Norm Macdonald. This was definitely a surprise, taken too young. What are your guys' history with Norm Macdonald?
I always loved him from SNL, as you mentioned, his sketch work and his work on Weekend Update. Again, Billy Madison, like you said, so funny in that movie. Dirty Work is another one of his movies that I saw probably way too young, but it always cracked me up. Yeah, he's a really funny guy, and it's always sad to see someone so talented pass away, especially from cancer. But yeah, I'm gonna miss his work.
I think Norm Macdonald is one of the most underrated stand-up comedians of our time. If you haven't seen it, on Netflix is Hitler's Dog is the name of the special, and it is amazing. It's one of my favorite, probably in my top 10 easy, possibly top 5 stand-up specials, and I'm a huge stand-up nerd. It is so good. It's all the best things about Norm Macdonald. I do think that his show Norm, which I caught a little bit of, isn't really the best of what he has to offer. So really, I would love if people revisited both his stand-up, and then he's one of the funniest guests on Pick Your Poison late night talk show. Like some of the funniest, he would
tell some of the most ridiculous stories.
You knew he was good because the host could never, like when he was on Conan, like Conan,
I was gonna say,
just couldn't he couldn't even do his like it broke the interview and is always so funny. Just such a dry delivery. The master of like really dry looking.
It's
you know,
also,
no,
like,
I
tell these
no, it's true. It's true.
anecdotes.
It's all true. Like as he's going through it.
As Kristen mentioned, look up Norm Macdonald on Conan O'Brien, because there are multiple interviews that he's done with Conan where he goes into these very long-winded anecdotes, and they're supposed to be jokes. They're setups.
There's a moth story that I saw.
That one's very funny
this week.
There's setups for jokes, and the punchlines are just ridiculous.
They're
so
like
I highly recommend looking
dad.
up.
They're like super dad, but they transcend dad jokes. They're just
Right,
on a
right.
whole nother level. And you know, the I can just imagine. I'm not gonna speak to what played out, but when he found out he had cancer, like the only delivery I think that Norm Macdonald would have been like, "Huh, well that's not very funny," and just decided that he was only gonna keep it private because you know his life was about making people laugh. And he would not have want, like, out of a lot of people say this, well, they wouldn't want us to be sad. I know for a fact Norm Macdonald would not want us to be sad, and this is a moment to celebrate his life. And like you said, Bryant, from all accounts, was a genuinely good person. So definitely rest in peace. I'm gonna rewatch Hitler's Dog very soon because that stand-up special. I've watched it probably 10 times. It's
I
just
need
something
to watch it
put
because
on.
I've never seen it. So
Same.
great
Yeah.
shout out.
It is I think top tier Norm Macdonald. It's one of my favorite things he's done. It's that, and then all of his appearances. He's great in movies and stuff, but talk show appearance, one of the best guests to have. And then Hitler's Dog, and then his other. I believe he has a couple other stand-up specials that are worth checking out.
So I saw a quote going around. I haven't verified it officially, but there was a quote from Norm Macdonald about cancer. Prior, obviously, no one knew that he had it, and this was probably before he had it. But I'm paraphrasing. He said something along the lines of, with cancer, when you die from it, my understanding is that the cancer dies too. So it's not a loss, it's a draw, which I thought was a really beautiful sentiment.
Yeah.
And
He has.
poignant.
Oh my God, I believe it's in Hitler's Dog. If it's not that, it's another special. He has a whole long bit about it because he goes, "You're battling cancer, like Trevor was battling cancer, like you're in the arena, like fighting it out." Like he has an entire thing about like when people talk about battling. He's like, "What's battle?" Like,
What year did that stand-up special come out?
Probably 2012. I'll have to double check in the old research.
So he probably would have known already at that point.
Which
that
is
he had
like,
It's possible.
in retrospect. Let's see. Hitler's Daughter is a movie. I can't find it on IMDb, which is sad. Hitler's Dog. This is great podcasting.
This is what you come here, folks. The behind the
Googling,
scenes.
behind the scenes Googling.
Live Googles.
It would have been 2017. So yeah, that's
he
what
knew.
Oh,
it was
my gosh.
uploaded to Netflix.
Oh man, I'm gonna definitely watch that as soon as we're done here.
Yeah. Well, R.I.P. and definitely will be missed, and one of the greats.
Yeah, rest in peace, Norm Macdonald. So moving on, hard to transition out of something like that.
No, it's easy. I got you.
God damn
And there it is. The mood is raised. Christopher Nolan has had a clandestine, a secretive meeting with the heads
of ridiculous
studios.
characters, comedy legends.
has
Chris
invited-
Nolan.
Chris Nolan has invited the heads of studios over to read his latest movie, which is apparently going to be about Robert Oppenheimer, the man who notoriously was pivotal in helping develop the atomic bomb for the United States during World War II. And yeah, he had a bit of a, I guess a kind auction. I imagine Nolan kind of standing particularly far above them, screaming down and making them beg or something. So here's the list of demands. What he wanted was full creative control, obviously 100%.
Makes sense.
Normal. At least 100-day theatrical window. Some sources are saying higher.
A little more difficult to deliver on in this day and age with the pandemic and
For
how
a company
movies are-
buying for exclusive rights to stream.
but still like within normal range, kind of like we're not super crazy yet.
So we've got $100 million budget on top of the same amount approximately for marketing. So $200 million to make and market this thing.
Relatively cheap for a Nolan flick. It's fine.
20% of first dollar gross. 20% of first dollar gross, and possibly the most seemingly preposterous of this.
Is it the chair?
A blackout period of 3 weeks before and after where the studio can't put anything else out to
that's fucking
compete
crazy.
with this movie.
That's a fucking crazy demand.
6 weeks.
Yo, the movie... Try and finish, and then I'll say
go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
Are you hoping that the Nolan movie about Oppenheimer bombs, Chris?
I'm not hoping... Oh, my God. It will bomb
Thank
in
you.
one way, shape, or form, whether it be part of the narrative or the movie flopping. I don't think the movie's going to... Barely any of Christopher Nolan's films, if any of them, ever flop. You know, you can't really even say that about Tenet. There's always going to be an asterisk next to that particular release because of when it came out during the pandemic. But, yeah, Christopher Nolan, in my opinion, and again... I hate that I've become this person on the podcast. I really like Christopher Nolan movies, and I really liked him as a person prior to the pandemic. Like, he seemed like an okay guy. But it seems like he has transcended, like, eccentric filmmaker entitled status. And he's just in this crazy place now where he's lost all sight of, like, what's actually transpiring in Hollywood, in the film industry, and in the exhibition industry as well. Like,
Chris, are you telling me the guy who can have studio execs come over to his house for a tea and script meeting is slightly out of touch with general studio audiences?
No,
figure, right?
Brian,
Like,
I heard
that totally
I've
sounds
heard
normal.
that the tea plates were on top of the backs of the poor, so they were inclusive. They were inclusive engagements.
Yikes!
Oh God. Anyway,
I got the extended one, the centipede.
it's super interesting. You know, he's finally working with another studio after 20 years of working with Warner Brothers and burning that bridge. Warner Brothers is super lucky to have him as a creative at their studio. This movie's going to do well because it's directed by Christopher Nolan. But a 100-day theatrical window, the standard theatrical window before the pandemic hit was 90 days. So he's asking for 10 more days than what the standard was when all of us didn't have to shelter in our homes.
Minimum 10 more days.
There was rumors that he actually initially asked for 130 days, which is fucking crazy. On top of that,
Let's just make it a cool year, you know?
He's asking Universal to not release a single fucking film 3 weeks before this 100-day window and 3 weeks after this 100-day window.
So how much, okay, so on this point, Chris, how much is this him forcing the studio to sufficiently hedge their bets in the same way that he is doing to some degree so he can't get screwed over like he did, like some would argue that he did with how HBO Max handled things? This is what I think the argument is, at least, right?
I agree, but I think this is like overkill. You know, like he could have.
I agree with you. I think it is overkill as well.
Universal,
You know, you play with the cards
not to
you
do
got,
day and date,
and Nolan's
not
got
to
a lot
stream.
of cards because he like guarantees interesting and also prestige, which is what a lot of things are looking for right now. So and legitimacy, like it adds so much weight to the service to be exclusive holders of that content. Well, somewhat exclusive. But even like, I don't think even the 100-day window is a big deal because even at the theaters, they're gonna get income from it. Like they know they're gonna make their money back there, even though they have to give some of it to Nolan. But they literally, one of these streaming services can put their name right at the front, and I know some in particular that would love that, just to have that at the movie theater to be like, this produced it. But that's all I'll say.
Here's
about
my
that.
opinion, though. Like, it's an Oppenheimer flick. It's not like an Inception or a Tenet or any of his crazier films. You know?
I thought this wasn't about a young girl losing her virginity. I thought that's. Hold on, let me. I thought it was called Oppenheimer.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Jesus.
Oh, wah-da-da-da-da-da.
That's disgusting.
Wow.
That's our Twitter clip.
I
right there.
recuse myself. I recuse myself from that joke.
Just stepping down.
But why I think it's silly is that this movie's going to do really well opening weekend because it's a Nolan flick. but because about a man that existed in real life, dude, for those next 90 days, it's going to sluggishly like pull in revenue. Like there's no way this is going to be anything that makes bank over the course of 100 days. It's not going to be a Titanic, which played for that amount of time, continuously making money. It just seems like such a out of touch and silly demand from a man who I already believe to be very out of touch and silly.
So, to its credit, I think Nolan's movies, pretty much without fail, either always, well, for better and for worse, demand reviewing. And I think it's the sort of movie that people will go back to the big screen to see. And if it's something where they had the streaming alternative after that first time in the theater, maybe a lot of people would watch it at home. They still want to rewatch it. So I think this will generate revenue over time. And it's Nolan. So yes, it's an Oppenheimer movie, but there's going to be elements that we're not expecting from this thing that turn it into something
Hiroshima
bigger. I
coming
imagine.
back together.
I'm just hoping there's a Twin Peaks tie-in. This is what I'm looking for.
Here's to hoping.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Chris Nolan, his latest movie is going to Universal, and he's got some reported demands that we'll keep you guys in the loop if these change, because this isn't super confirmed by Nolan or Universal yet, but we'll find out more as that comes. The next piece of news, Anthony Mackie, who is, spoiler alert, the new Captain America, is executive.
Oh, come on, Brian.
That's not a spoiler. That's literally what happened at the end of Endgame.
Spoil for Endgame.
Spoil for
2019.
Endgame, yeah.
Anthony Mackie has come on to executive produce and star in a adaptation of the video game series Twisted Metal. So he's playing John Doe in this, who obviously I knew was an existing character within Twisted Metal and didn't have to look up. I mean, who doesn't know John Doe?
All of us knew of John Doe.
And this is going to be a half-hour live-action TV series. And the concept behind this, which I'm not sure how close this follows to the game, it's about a motor-mouthed outsider offered a chance at a better life, but only if he can successfully deliver a mysterious package across a post-apocalyptic wasteland. So this is based on an original take by the Deadpool writers Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick. And yeah, it's going to star Anthony Mackie. So did you guys ever play Twisted Metal? Christian, do I remember you having this game? I feel like
No, because I had a PlayStation, but I bought most of my games for my N64. Because I had a brother, and we both got one, but we just bought it for the N64 because that was an easier system and the games were better. Let's be honest. And N64 and PlayStation, I think, had this game, but there was a knockoff called Vigilante 8. Which was basically the same game. It was cars that you got guns for, and you shot each other's cars. Because the Twisted Metal games are like cars that have guns on the top, and they try to destroy each other.
You battle it out in an arena,
like BattleBot style. So I don't know the story. I just don't know how you're going to make that plot. That's the plot to like the next Mad Max movie. So I how is it going to be different than Mad Max? I don't know. There's a clown, and the cars have, again, they have like spikes and machine guns on them. So again, it's... I'm hopeful, though. It seems like PlayStation is really trying to focus. Sony has, by way of like PlayStation, their console brand, is trying really hard to get very good talent behind these things. So that's always good to see. So we may be entering the era of good video game tie-ins. And I imagine if you pick something like Twisted Metal, you have you have a concept, because it's not the first thing when you think of like Sony's really known for narrative-based games. It's pretty much what their whole platform is based on, is delivering blockbuster-level experiences and narrative experiences. And then they pick Twisted Metal. Someone's got a good idea, I'm hoping, because
hopefully
seems pretty crazy.
Right. So the idea comes from the Deadpool guys. It's going to be written by the writer of Cobra Kai, Michael Jonathan Smith, who's also going to executive produce. So, yeah, we've got some good people on board. And yeah, it seems like this is just a framework that they're kind of putting a totally new spin on to some degree. Very streamlined story where maybe there wasn't much of one before.
Putting new spinners on, Brian.
Ayo.
Yes, exactly.
Because they're cars.
Because they're cars. Yeah. So that's Anthony Mackie starring and executive producing in a Twisted Metal series adaptation. Moving on to some stuff that's coming out this week, starting with some TV. on this Wednesday, we've talked about it in the last couple of months, but Star Wars Visions is debuting all 9 episodes this Wednesday. So the concept behind this is 7 Japanese animation studios bring their unique perspectives to the Star Wars universe through a series of short films. So it's produced by Lucasfilm, and the animation studios involved are Kamikaze Douga, Twin Engine, Trigger, Kinema Citrus, Production IG, and Science Saru. I apologize about pronunciations for those. And yeah, the trailer for this, we talked about it when it dropped, and it looks breathtaking, amazing animation. I'm not sure about the stories, but I'm kind of sold on the animation itself. And the fact they're dropping it all at once is a new thing for Disney Plus.
Shocking.
Yeah, it is on Wednesdays.
Probably because there's like literally no narrative through line rather, and that may lean itself into like not wanting to confuse people about episodic release structure. If I was to like guess what their thinking is, it's very like
they might also not want to cannibalize the views of What If, which is still airing on Wednesdays.
They don't care.
So
they
may
have
have
to watch them
figured,
both.
Like,
they just want you to watch them both. What do you mean cannibalize? Like they're gonna watch one or the other?
some people might.
I think that if you're into it, you're just gonna watch. Are you watching both, Chris?
I'm gonna watch both.
If they both came out on Wednesday, would you watch both?
I would probably wait for Star Wars Visions. I'd probably prioritize What If.
Yeah, but then you'd spend more time on the platform.
Yeah, like maybe like a couple days later or something.
Yeah. Then you have What If wrapping up, maybe bringing some cohesion to the overall narrative in the middle of this season happening, and takes away from the discussion, the water cooler, the fictional water cooler discussion.
Exactly.
They're about to. I bet you the next What If episode's gonna be a huge dud. Huge old stinker. They're clearing it. They're like, we gotta wave away the stink. Let's drop that. What? Because it's like
Star Wars Visions on the stink.
What's the
That's
Matrix short films? What was that called?
Animatrix.
The Well, wow, that was right there. It was like make up a name.
Very original.
I would have landed on it. It was like, what would you say? What would you make up? That would have been the first
animated Matrix.
Animated Matrix.
How do we take this?
Yeah, I think some of them look really cool. I may like cherry pick. I may wait until like someone just goes like, it's really episode 4 and 7 that are just the best, and that might be what I watch, because that's what I'm doing with
Chris will clearly tell you this immediately. So
I'll watch all of them soon. And I'll tell you which ones I think you'll enjoy most.
Thanks, Chris. You excited?
Yeah. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We were really hyped.
Yeah,
we were hyped about the trailer. I'm excited to see what this is and what it looks like.
So yeah, that's Star Wars Visions that's coming to Disney Plus this Wednesday. Staying in TV, we have got an adaptation of the Isaac Asimov novel Foundation coming to Apple TV Plus this Friday. And the premise of this, Foundation chronicles the 1,000-year saga of the Foundation, a band of exiles who discover that the only way to save the Galactic Empire from destruction is to defy it. This is going to be produced by David S. Goyer and also created by Josh Friedman as well, and stars Jared Harris, Lee Pace, and many others. Foundation is a series that I've always heard in the esteemed sci-fi collections, but I've never gotten around to reading these books. I'm not sure if at this point I want to check out the show first or the novels first, but these are obviously great source material. Isaac Asimov, one of the great sci-fi writers, renowned. So yeah, this will be out on Apple TV Plus this Friday. Moving into something that's coming to Netflix this Friday, we've got Midnight Mass. So the concept of this show is the arrival of a charismatic priest brings miracles, mysteries, and renewed religious fervor to a dying town. This is the latest, written and directed by creator Mike Flanagan, who has done a few other Netflix series, The Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor, which I absolutely love. He did Dr. Sleep as well. I didn't watch the trailer for this because I'm pretty much sold on anything Mike Flanagan is doing at this point. So I'm super hyped for this conceptually. It's very much up my alley. And yeah, the cast features Zach Gilford, Kate Siegel, and Hamish Linklater. And like I said, yeah, written and directed by Mike Flanagan. So that'll be on Netflix this Friday. finally, wrapping up TV, another Netflix-inspired piece of news. We've got TUDUM.
Interestingly, though, streaming on YouTube.
I know, kind of seems to be a missed opportunity. Maybe they don't have live streaming capabilities on Netflix itself. But
bizarre.
yeah, this Saturday we've got the Netflix live stream event that's happening
on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, right. On YouTube.
TUDUM is going to be streaming on YouTube via Amazon Prime.
Netflix
through
presents
Twitch.
Netflix presents TUDUM, a Hulu fan event streaming on Amazon Prime.
So yes, this is going to be at 12 p.m.
Starring
Eastern Standard
Iron
Time.
Man.
It's just everything imaginable. But this is going to have footage and talks from a bunch of people involved in the shows that are upcoming for Netflix, some of which are Stranger Things, Bridgerton, The Witcher, La Casa de Papel, and Cobra Kai. Jennifer Aniston, Jonathan Bailey, Jason Bateman, Zazie Beetz, and a slew of other creators and actors are going to be popping up in this thing. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of super cool content that's, if you don't catch it live, will be immediately available, obviously, on YouTube, I imagine, right afterwards. So a lot to look forward to there this Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. That's TUDUM, a Netflix live stream event.
TUDUM.
Moving on to a piece of video game news. We have the Death Stranding Director's Cut coming to PS5. So the concept of this game, in the future, a mysterious event known as the Death Stranding has opened a doorway between the living and the dead, leading the creatures from the afterlife roaming the fallen world, marred by a desolate society. You play Sam Bridges in this game, and Christian, I'm hoping you know maybe a little bit more about this. It says there is a unique social strand system which allows players to stay connected with other players from around the globe, which I believe is enabled as a new feature in this game, as well as fully remastered and expanded parts of this game as well. Did you play Death Stranding? Is this something that you're looking forward to replaying, if so?
I did play Death Stranding. I believe I talked about it on this very program.
You did.
It's a very interesting game. And what's interesting about the director's cut is twofold. It's called the director's cut, which is hilarious because the creator, Hideo Kojima, famously left Konami and had full creative control to make the craziest video game that could come out of Hideo Kojima's brain. So the original game was 100% everything Kojima wanted. So the fact
director's cut,
that
if
they're
you
calling
will.
it director's cut for this one is pretty insane and doesn't make any sense. The second thing is that Death Stranding, although I didn't finish it, is a very interesting video game in the fact that Bo Burnham smartly makes a joke about it in his special, that it's not fun. It must be like and that's the point. That must be it's like Death Stranding. And it really isn't a super fun game. There's the mechanic that is very game-like, and you are basically delivering packages, dodging ghost in a wasteland, and you're like running, and your upgrades make the suck better. You're like, oh, I can run longer, or I now have a bike. But it's very desolate, and the way that player characters interact is actually by building bridges, and building towers,
Metaphor.
and like putting resources in the map, and that map is sort of a shared universe where you get to see people's stuff that helps you traverse the environment. So it's kind of like a multiplayer game, but it's not really, and it's about isolation and disconnection and like not seeing people. It's a very kind of quarantine-esque game. It's very meta contextual of like how we interact as humans now.
I think I saw some commentary online that people thought it was very there was a lot of foresight in it compared to the COVID-19 pandemic from when it came out right beforehand.
It's crazy. And then the director's cut, which is presumably more director than...
They took away the added voiceover by Harrison Ford, I think.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, they did that.
More Kojima injected right into it.
And they added like the ability for players to get together in the same space and ride like doom buggies and monster trucks together. So they basically were like Death Stranding, but without all that intrinsic
Does each player
creative...
have a fetus attached to them?
I probably, yeah, you need one of those to see the ghost, I believe was the plot. I don't remember the plot. Yeah, there's a fetus in your sack. It's all crazy shit. But yeah, they kind of go against the creative vision of what made that game very special. And they were like, but let's put like GTA Online inside of it. So it seems like a way to breathe new life. I'm sure there's some cool things that are going to be happening. It's just like, it's all very hilarious to me because it's like, defeat the purpose of the game and also call it director's cut, even though the director had 100% creative control on the first project. Little silly, but it looks like it might be cool. I'm going to definitely check out like people's impressions because I'm just curious to see what happens when you add a bunch of fun into the game. Can't go wrong, I guess.
Yeah, and maybe, it's what we need right now. After 2 years of being stranded, now it's time to party a little bit. Get some joy in this game.
Yeah, he's like, real. It's too real now.
Let's pull it back. Tone it down a bit.
Let's get some skateboard.
I made a mistake.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the Death Stranding director's cut that'll be out on PS5 this Friday. All right, quickly, a couple movies that are coming out this week. Dear Evan Hansen.
What a line reading. That was great. I always appreciate when you put more acting into the line readings of the titles.
Thank you. I genuinely feel bad for this one because I don't know if there's any way this movie doesn't get panned from the reception that I'm seeing online right now. So this is directed by Steven Chbosky from a screenplay by Steven Levinson, who co-wrote the 2015 musical that it's based off of with Benj Pasek and Justin Paul. It stars Ben Platt, who when it was announced that he was going to do this, there was a whole hullabaloo online about him looking way older than the character is supposed to look. And this is just culminated in the movie actually being rejected by people on completely different grounds. He's like a
30-year-old playing a high schooler.
It's nearly Grease levels of silliness. Yeah. No, it's not that bad, but he does look old. So the premise of this is Evan Hansen, a high school student with social anxiety disorder.
And has a gray goatee.
Well, he's definitely got a wig, so he might be bald under there. High school student with social anxiety disorder has a therapeutic self-intended letter stolen by a classmate named Connor Murphy, who later dies by suicide. Connor's family mistakes the letter as a letter sent to Evan by Connor, and Evan inserts himself into the boy's past and goes along with this story that the parents have kind of fabricated based on a misunderstanding of what's happened. So,
it's sold, by the way. The trailer for me played before Shang-Chi, and it was just like, it was a very emotionally charged.
The kind of music I can't not get emotional to, but at the same time, I'm like, this movie, I don't know how we're going to be behind the main character. Ultimately, it's like how it seems very difficult to be.
Yeah, and I was like, no wonder he has social anxiety. He's a 30-year-old in a wig in high school. He doesn't quite
21 Jump Street sequel, so
doesn't quite fit in. No, this movie looks. I saw it and went like, this is a very emotional, effective trailer. The people who made that trailer deserve an Oscar for taking the story, the footage, and because the whole time you're like, I'm emotional, but also like, the guy's kind of fucked up, right? Like, I don't know if we love him.
It's a little messed up to deceive that family.
Yeah. Also a little. It's all kinds of screwed up, and it has to do with very serious things like teen suicide, which is a very heavy subject. So I wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, we'll see. That's Dear Evan Hansen. That will be out in theaters this Friday. All right, last piece of news. Birds of Paradise is coming to Prime Video this Friday. So this follows two dancers at an elite ballet academy in Paris who are competing for a contract to join a highly coveted national team, I believe, the Opera Nationale de Paris. I apologize. I don't know how to speak French.
You're French.
Don't call me out here. Yeah, Dupree. Not at all French. So this is adapted. It is French. This is adapted from the novel by A.K. Small and is written and directed by Sarah Adina Smith. It stars Christine Froseth, Diana Silvers, Jacqueline Bisset, and Strav Strashko. And this movie looks pretty cool. It looks kind of in a similar vein as the 2018 remake of Suspiria. Maybe not as horror focused, but kind of similar vibes there. This is another movie where I got about halfway through the trailer and didn't want to go on because I felt like it might get into some later act spoilers. But this movie looks pretty interesting, and it's from some people that I haven't heard of, but maybe could be some sleeper solid performances there. So yeah, that's Birds of Paradise. That'll be on Amazon Prime Video this Friday. And that's it for the news this week, guys.
Brian, what a wacky! It started off a little sad, but also wacky, and ended on quite the wacky note when we talked about teen suicide. So good job.
What an episode, gents.
An episode. We're going to close out the YouTube video here, but before we go, gentlemen, where can people find more of your work on the internet?
Loyal viewers and listeners, you can find me on Twitter at Chris Conkling, talking about all things nerdy, video games, comics, television, movies, collectibles. If it's nerdy, I'm talking about it.
You keep adding to that list. You're just talking about everything. You're like video games, TV, movie, newspapers, newsprint ads, Craigslist.
Dog breeds, cat breeds.
Brian.
You can find me on Twitter at True Pop-O-Holic. Short and sweet.
Yeah.
What are you doing over there, Brian?
Yeah, Brian, what's going on?
There's not much, honestly. No, nothing.
And you can find my band at Midnight Satire. Midnight Satire's newest single, AR, is now streaming. And boys, it's certified the most successful release I've ever had, and which is very exciting because I've got lots of music down the pipeline, but it is quickly on its way to surpassing all-time streams for all my other stuff, which is super humbling. So thank you if you're a Pop-O-Holics fan and you decided to check that out. Really appreciate it. Appreciate all the love and support. A lot of cool things coming this way. Just dropped a lyric video, so you can go check that out if you want to read the lyrics and watch some cool animations. Jared, a friend of the show, past guest, Jared Concepcion, did the visualizer/lyric video, so that's a really cool thing you should check out.
I haven't seen this yet. I'm learning about this.
Just went live tonight. I just got yelled at for posting it so late by my marketing people. So, I told them, I'm an artist, and I said, I demand 100 days in theaters only will AR play before
you will
it's
not show a Minions movie before or after
the
my film has been in theaters.
There's no trailers in front of it. Buy them out. Buy out the spots. That's what I said to them because I'm such a true artist. Anyway, you can check out more of Pop-O-Holics down in the show notes. We've got a link to all of our podcast feed. Subscribe there, especially if you want to hear what we've been consuming. I'm gonna talk Deathloop, so if you're a video game fan, a lot of hype around that game. You can hear my hot, spicy take on it. You can email us at popaholicscast@gmail.com. If you know a good person to be a guest, we love it. We're always looking to diversify the podcast, points of view and all. And so please send us your recommendations there. Recommendations for themed months, recommendations for within themed months, what we should be talking about. We're doing a Kung Fu month all month. So we covered Shang-Chi and Enter the Dragon, as well as Legend of the Drunken Master. Thank you. And we're covering Ip Man on Wednesday's episode. So all great things coming down the pipeline. Check it out. That's Pop-O-Holics. Go past all the pimple poppy stuff. We're going to outperform them. We're getting there. We're slowly creeping up on those disgusting videos. I'm very excited about
Appreciate the subs, by the way. Subscribers.
Yes, thank you.
Slow and steady increases. I love that.
Yeah, smash that bell. Smash it. Crush it. That's what Daddy would want.